Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast, co-hosted by Mandee Montana and Ashley Fisher, a podcast that celebrates women, their issues, their thoughts, their lives, conversations that celebrate their gifts, their talents, their courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast. Presented by Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Hey there, it's Mandee. And I've shared the secret of where I go to relax and where I like to unwind. It's Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler. They really have become an essential part of my self-care routine. I go monthly, sometimes more frequently, to get a massage, and they help me with my skincare too. I recently went to have a facial and I decided it was time for an upgrade. I chose the Nano Infusion Experience. And if you are looking for the top service for your skin, this is it. I left not only looking fabulous, but really feeling that way too. Holly took amazing care of me and my skin was so radiant and glowing. Y'all, I was dewy for days. This process infuses your skin with custom serums without needles or downtime, and it's customized for your needs. It might be my favorite skincare treatment yet. The next time you have a special event or you want to splurge and indulge yourself, this is what you want, the Nano Infusion upgrade to your dermalogical facial. Schedule now by visiting Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa, located in Cumberland Shopping Center in Tyler, or book online at handandstonetyler.com.
Welcome back to the Celebrating Women podcast. I'm Ashley Fisher.
And I'm Mandee Montana.
Howdy.
Hi, friend.
Good to see you.
You too. It's early.
Y'all, it is. And I've only had like half a cup of coffee.
Did you bring some?
It's in the car, but it's like not hot anymore. And you know what? I'm beginning to wonder if like my stomach is turning on me.
Uh-oh.
And not liking coffee.
Uh-oh.
Which is an absolute travesty.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't appreciate it.
No,
I do not appreciate it. So I think I may look into like the mud water.
Yeah, I think Tiffany was talking about that when she was here.
Yeah.
I don't remember if she talked about it on the podcast or off mic, but
I just don't have faith that mushrooms are going to taste as delectable as coffee beans.
I have some ideas. We could talk about it after the pod.
Okay.
But we were talking this morning as we were both coming in. We're going to get back to interviews kind of in full swing here in a few weeks. I know you've got some friends that you want to bring in, and I've got a couple people that I've been wanting to have on the podcast for a while, but timing has just been like planning our schedules. And so it was like, that's really an appropriate topic, right? Like the busyness of this season. I know through the summer it was busy too, but for different reasons. Like you were talking about having little kids at home and how, it's hard for you to plan things around their schedules and get them elsewhere to come in and do something like this. But even though they're back to school, it's still a busy time of year.
Yeah. Yeah. And this time of year, like we're all gearing up for holiday season. And for me in particular, September through December is the busiest time of the year with my business and family stuff. I mean, it's just bonkers. And I'm already feeling it, which is not good. And coffee is not my friend. This is bleak.
I have a feeling you will survive.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
But we were just kind of discussing like that this is an important topic because we're not the only ones facing it. So we need to make a plan for how we're going to face it. It's a similar situation for me. This is this season of the year when my business starts to ramp up too. People are trying to fit back in their blue jeans for fall, and a lot of times they're not fitting, or they're just trying to get back into a routine of wellness.
Yeah.
And so I have a tendency to have more people just reaching out and being like, "Hey, I'm ready to restart. I need to reset. I need to refocus." And I get it because I do too. And I don't know if it's because my birthday is this month, but for me,
yeah, mine is too.
Right. And back to school, it's always felt like a fresh start for me, even more so than like the first of the year.
Yeah. Still kind of in school year.
Yeah.
I still live on school year calendar more than anything.
Yeah. And I don't have kids, but I feel like I live in that mode as well of this just feels like a fresh time for a reset and renewal. And so it's like I try to wrap my brain around all the things that I have going.
Yeah.
And it's challenging.
It is. It's very challenging. And I was talking with a a friend of mine last night, and she was like, I gotta tell you, I don't even know how you're standing upright right now. And I was like, well, I don't know either, because in all honesty, yesterday I wasn't. I was in bed.
Were you?
I was exhausted. I didn't get up until I absolutely had to. And that's very rare for me.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. Of course, I've also got lovely, like, hormones and all that kind of thing going on right now. So.
Well, yeah, and you did just have a few surgeries over the summer, so you're still in recovery.
Mm-hmm. And those surgeries affect hormones, too. So my hormones this week have been like, blah, and that's not fun. So when you combine really extraordinary busyness and hormones and stomach not handling coffee, like, what the hell?
Yeah, super challenging. I'm glad you're here this morning.
I am too. But, I think too, we also like this kind of, for me, it goes back to curating. Mm-hmm. There are certain signs that pop up that say you're too busy. Like something, you got to take something off your plate. What can you curate with your schedule to give yourself some margin? Because we all have to have margin. And I wonder how many of us, because of the world we live in, are almost afraid to get quiet and get still, I found myself this week, it was like the first day since the kids have been back, that I had some things I needed to do, but I didn't have anywhere I needed to be. And that was hard.
Was it?
It was.
In what way?
I found myself just doing random crap to keep busy when really I should have just sat down and just gotten quiet to refill and replenish so that my batteries could get charged for the next day when I've got things that I need to go do and places I need to be. I feel like I've probably primed myself to need noise and need movement and need a to-do list and need to be doing something. And I've gotten really bad at resting.
I can completely relate. I told my friend, one of my besties years ago, I was like, I really struggle to relax. It is hard for me because when I do, it's like I'm out for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like I will binge watch Netflix or something or Disney Plus or whatever, and I'll just be gone. It's like, I don't want to do anything. Sometimes I color while I do it to like help relax me, but I struggle to just have little pockets of relaxation. So what I've done for the last probably 4 or 5 years to make myself relax, you're going to laugh whenever I tell you this because it's going to make so much sense, is I book a massage. I have to schedule it.
That's good.
It forces me to go in and relax, and I can't do anything else. And I usually tell whoever the therapist that is working on me that I don't want to talk, and it's like, it's not that I don't want to have a conversation with you.
No, it's just not why you're there.
Correct.
Yeah.
My whole purpose for being there is to still my mind and be quiet, and I'll try to meditate while I'm on the table on just some kind of focused, chill thought of just like, I am here. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be still.
Yeah.
Or if there's something else in my mind that I need to focus on or in my life at the time, but like at least once a month.
Yeah.
But oftentimes twice a month. And it's like, it's part of the reason why I love Hand and Stone so much. And this is, not ad. This is just coming up.
Yeah.
But like they have a membership model. And so I pay a monthly membership, and that allows me to go once a month for a 50-minute massage. And then I get a discounted price anytime else that I come back in, I get a membership price. So because I have made this like my self-care routine, it really works well for me.
Well, I can totally relate to that because part of the protocol for post-op care for me is 2 MLD massages, so manual lymphatic drainage massages. Very different than a deep tissue, but very relaxing. After each batch of these surgeries, I've had to go twice a week for 6 weeks, and it's an hour. And I've gotten to where I honestly just doze off most of the time. It's like a scheduled little doze. And you're right, you can't do anything else. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll think, okay, I want to be thinking about this, pray over this, and I'll start there. And then next thing I know, I kind of like, oh, I think I just fell asleep, which is great.
It is great.
It's so good.
And God knew you needed that, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was an answered prayer that you didn't ask for, probably.
No. And I think, too, like, you saying that you can, like, when you get that tired, you could just, like, binge watch Netflix for 6 hours. Like, that was my day yesterday. It wasn't 6 hours, but it was several hours of it just being in bed. And I found a show on Netflix, Sweet Magnolias, that I'm like really enjoying. And I just binged like 4 episodes. And then I took like a little nap, but I needed more. And then got up when I just had no choice. I had to get up and go get ready to do the things that I needed to do. There's a piece of me that can feel guilty for that kind of thing.
Same.
But like, I wonder if we took time to rest on a more regular basis. It's kind of like binge eating, honestly. I mean, it's like you wouldn't struggle with binge eating if you would feed yourself throughout the day with nutritious things, you know. And same thing with rest, I guess. You know, at some point, your body's going to let you know, I'm done. You're gonna lay down.
Yes.
You gonna lay down.
You know, I think too, like as entrepreneurs, there's never really a weekend, right? The work never really ends. And so I think as much as I love this lifestyle, and I do, and I'm really grateful for it, there was a period of time several years ago when I was working in radio, but I was not on the air, where all I did was schedule commercials that the salespeople sold. Girl, I tied a bow on my day at 4:30 and I was done, and I didn't think about work again until like 8 o'clock the next morning. And there was a lot of freedom and peace in that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I got to a point where I was bored with it. But for I think I was there for 18 months, maybe two years. I was there for 2 years. I think for the first probably 6 months to a year, it felt like a break. Because I had been running wide open for 10 years. Prior to that, I mean, I've always had a busy schedule. I've always done multiple things. It's looked different over the years. When I was in high school, I was like in leadership positions with a bunch of organizations, but I was also working. Like I had a job at the local video store where we rented VHS tapes. That's how old I am. But I was also tutoring a couple of students in different subjects. And I mean, it was just, I've always had multiple things, and I am happiest when I have multiple things going. Like I enjoy it. I don't know if that makes me ADD or what, but
Could be.
I like having my brain tickled in that way, like having to switch gears and think about different things. And it's fascinating to me, but it's also draining. And if I don't schedule in time to rest, then I do burn out. And I was up late last night working. I was telling you this morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was up past midnight. I'm always up late on the end of the month because it's a cycle for me in my business, and it's when it ends and we have goals and everything starts fresh on the 1st. And we had decided to come in at like, 8:15 this morning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get 5 hours of sleep tonight. But this afternoon, I have scheduled downtime.
Good. That's really good.
I almost always schedule on the 1st, knowing how busy I'm going to be at the end of the month. I schedule like self-care appointments. I have a facial booked this afternoon, and I have a haircut booked like 30 minutes later.
That's great.
So so like I've pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And then I'm taking like 4 hours to make myself feel good about myself this afternoon, you know?
Yeah. You know, when we're little kids, our parents scheduled naps for us.
Good point.
Because they knew, even though we didn't want to stop, they knew what's best for you and what will recharge your batteries is this nap. And they scheduled it for us. And then as we get into adulthood, we don't have anybody forcing us to lay down and nap or lay down and rest or do some self-care. And so I think that it really does have to be, even though it takes a little bit of the romance out of it, you just have to schedule it. You do. You know, like today, thankfully it's on my schedule. Like it's just there because Lord knows I would have forgotten to put it on there. But like I'll go this afternoon before I pick up the kids for that massage. And I've already thought today, that's going to be my little nap time. Because I'm drained to the point right now where I could literally, if everything got canceled today, I could just go get in bed and sleep because I'm that tired.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen from time to time, and it's nothing to beat ourselves up over. It is, though, information, and it's a sign of, okay, all right, I need to be a little bit more diligent to be scheduling times of rest. And here's the thing. Ooh, this was so good. I heard this the other day. I'm so glad we're talking about this. We think as a society sometimes that rest means, okay, so this is my time to work on myself. This is my time to like really dig into this issue and think about that and read a good book. Or that's not
work.
Rest. That's work.
That's self-work, not
That
self-care.
is work. Rest is doing nothing. Mm-hmm. It's doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And I think that I heard that the other day and I was like, oh man, I've been doing rest so wrong. Because, I mean, that's exhausting. I mean, it's a good and worthy work, but it is a work. It's just
work.
another type of work.
For sure.
And so rest is when you do nothing. Mm-hmm. And we think, and then I think sometimes, especially as women, we equate that with like laziness or with whatever, but it's not, it's rest.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
It is necessary.
I mean, if, we all know like that toddler that misses their nap, they're a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they can't even function properly because they did not have that scheduled time of rest. We're really no different. We're better at masking our tantrum. We're like having the tantrum inwardly, and then outwardly we're like, hey, how are you?
Oh my gosh, that is the truth. There is so much truth to that. We are just toddlers. Like if we don't eat, if we don't rest, if we need to go to the bathroom, we are gonna be cranky until we take care of those needs. It's so important to recognize it. And I think we overlook the signs. It's easy to do that, but it's just bringing an awareness to it. And that awareness is a little bit of work too, but it needs to be followed by rest. I'm so glad you brought that up because I am such a proponent of and love doing work on myself.
Yeah.
Like introspection and reflection and just trying to be a better human, a better friend, a better wife, just elevate in general. Like that's something I've always been curious and interested in doing, but it is work.
It is work.
And I have to schedule that time too. I mean, it's not like it's written in my calendar all the time, but when I did that Tony Robbins program, it was like that was carved out. I think I carved out 3 hours every Tuesday night.
Yeah.
For 8 weeks to do that.
Yeah.
But that was not rest. That was some of the most like emotionally, mentally taxing things that I have done in the last probably 2 or 3 years, but it was good because it's why I reached out to you to do this.
Yeah.
It made me really think about like what is fulfilling for me, but being fulfilled and resting are two different things.
Yeah. And you
need both.
You do need both. And I would say that you can't feel truly fulfilled if you're not rested.
Amen. You can't.
You can't because you're like that toddler. We get to be where with each of my kids, there were points where they would get so overtired that if you've ever seen a kid get overtired, it's bonkers. Like I remember Jackson when he was a year and a half, 2, Bradley and I were sitting on his bedroom floor, and that poor baby, he was beside himself. And he was crawling around, crying, screaming, wouldn't be consoled, wouldn't be held. But it was because he was so overtired. And we finally, as his parents, we knew, like, because we tried everything, we knew he's got to play out. And he finally did, and he finally just, and so we picked him up, we held him, we put him in his crib, and if that doesn't preach.
Yeah, that feels like an experience I had recently. Like,
we'll
push.
I mean, push, and then you're so overtired that you just don't even know how to stop until your body forces you to. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's just you have to stop and you have to rest. Even if, like, I've been really proud of Bradley these last few weeks. It started with our church had 21 days of prayer. So they opened up the church at like 6 a.m. So he started going at 6 in the morning for that. But then that would force him into, well, I need to go to bed at a decent hour so that I'm not drained after that and then going to work all day. And it's gotten him into this rhythm of going to bed at a decent hour. And he's one of those people, like, I need my sleep, but I can operate on not much of it. He just can't. He's got to have good sleep. And I've watched him over these last few weeks, like, just have so many positive effects from just a decent sleep schedule and then being disciplined in his day, and he's having time to himself during the day, and it makes him more present at home, and just you can tell he just feels better, which makes me feel better. But I think, like, if you don't know where to start, forcing yourself into, I'm no longer, I can feel like at 7 p.m. some nights, like I could go to sleep right now, but then I'll pick up that phone and I'm up.
Yeah.
And if we just get determined to, like, go to bed at a decent hour, like figure out how to get 8 hours of sleep. And if you're a new mom listening to this, I'm sorry, I promise you'll sleep again. That part's not for you.
No, that's not for you. That's a totally different stage of life.
Yes. Take at least one nap a day is what I would say to that when you can. Just one. Make yourself. But just, think like starting there. Other than scheduling some self-care stuff, like, what are some practical ways in this busy life that we can...
Building routines, morning and nighttime routines, like what Bradley's doing, but just being very intentional with it. So I started with a morning routine and then backed it up to start preparing with a nighttime routine to make my morning routine effective. So I see Mel Robbins talk about this. So, like, if you're looking for someone to follow with, like, better tips than Mandee, she's one that I would say, go look at Mel. She's got a great way of doing this. And she's one of the people that I've learned from. But getting up earlier, like, even if it's 15 minutes to have that time to yourself, like you're saying Bradley is doing, whether that's prayer time or what I do is I do gratitude journaling. And I've gone back to my routines had devolved over the last few years. So I'm re-implementing, and at one point, I had like probably about a 90-minute morning routine that included gratitude, goal setting, breakfast, supplements, exercise, shower, like all of it. Like, I had it down. I was super disciplined. And then I moved, and that in disrupting my environment disrupted my routine. So and I've been feeling guilty about this for a while because I haven't been able to recapture where I was. But I had a really wise friend tell me, go back to basics, start small.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing now is I have a gratitude journal that's called the 5-minute journal. And I spend 5 minutes in the morning. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things that I want to happen, like a happy expectation for the day, and an affirmation in the morning. And at night, I write down 3 amazing things that happened during the day and what I learned. And it's super short. It's like 2 simple lines. It's not a novel.
Yeah.
And it really just takes 5 minutes. But that is the beginning of my morning and nighttime routine. And then as I've become consistent with it, I'll start to build and do a little bit more. So, like, I also take supplements in the morning, and it's become so habitual. The first thing I do in the morning is get up and drink water and take a probiotic and my energy supplement every day. Like, regardless of where I'm at, I travel with them, and it's rote. It's that routine. But now I've got the 5-minute journal in there. And then as I lock in and get consistent with it, and that number of days is like different for everybody. There's some people say it takes 21 days to make a habit. Others say 66, some say 90, whatever it is for you. When it becomes a habit, slowly build another thing. I tried to like do all the things that I was doing, and it overwhelmed me, and I felt guilty because I wasn't able to be consistent with it.
Yeah.
I think you have to start small.
So are those things restful for you, or are they work?
Well, I get plenty of sleep at night in between. Not last night. That's an unusual thing, but I get 8 hours of sleep consistently.
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
I once told a volunteer board that I worked on, they asked me to come in for something, and I was like, I'm not getting up that early. And they were like, whoa. And I was like, I have to have my sleep. I was like, you do not want to be around me if I haven't had sleep. I'm not a happy, productive volunteer. I'm not going to show up present for you. Like,
Yeah.
for me, sleep is a big deal. I don't rest well outside of sleep. That's something that I'm working on.
So that's my question is what does awake rest look like for Mandee?
Massage.
Just the massage?
Yeah. But I mean, there have been months where I go 3 times.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking once or twice a month ain't much.
It's not. I mean, sometimes it's Netflix. At the end of the night, I'll watch something. But I mean, I'm honestly struggle with it. I really, really do, because I am just so driven. And I have so many things that I want to accomplish in this life. And, you know, there's that quote and that joke that you'll sleep when you're dead. And it's not that I live by that. I don't. But
We can relate, though.
but I can relate, because I get in that frame of mind where, I mean, I like doing. I like being with people. I like experiencing things. I do also like rest, but it's, I try to vacation a lot. A lot of times, and I think that is another place where I do rest, is I travel. I've been going probably somewhere once a month for a while. And it's, for me, vacation is restful, and I plan it that way. I've got a couple of people in my life that vacation is doing for them.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
And my husband is one of them. And so it's been an interesting learning process for us. Like, if we go somewhere extraordinary, like on our honeymoon when we went to London and Paris, of course you want to see all the things. I did, but I also wanted to just sleep in my hotel room. That was lovely. Those sheets, that comforter, that bed, it was awesome. And so one day while we were on our honeymoon, he went to a soccer game, and I just stayed in the room and I journaled and I rested. And it was one of my favorite moments, because I just needed downtime.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there are some things built into our lifestyle where we tend to think, okay, now I have permission. You know, like summer, like, oh, now I have permission to take the kids and go to the beach. And when I'm on the beach, as much as I can, I'm just going to, you know. And, you know, I think that while that's great, we need to just start offering ourselves permission to have those moments in our everyday. Even if it's, you know, like, I do think there is something to, like a nighttime routine to help your brain settle. Like, and I'm the world's worst at looking at my phone before I go to sleep.
Oh, I don't do it.
It's terrible. It's not a good idea. But things like, okay,
It will keep you up.
It will keep you up, and it does keep me up. And, but, you know, saying, okay, after 9, my phone's going to go over there, and I'm not picking it back up. And maybe for the next 30 minutes, maybe I just lay here, or maybe I put on some good music, or maybe I go take a bubble bath, or maybe I have a glass of wine, or I read a book, if I didn't already say that, or just sit.
You know what? I do that, actually. That is part of my nighttime routine. I take a bath most evenings.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not to cleanse my body. Not really. It's really just, it helps me reset. It helps me unwind. And I usually listen to an audiobook while I'm in the bathtub.
Yeah.
So that is rest.
That is, yeah.
And I do that for, I mean, it's probably about a 20-minute experience. It's not like I'm in there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But that 20 minutes just lets my body sort of release and reset. And it's not a self-care book. It's a fantasy romance novel.
Yeah.
It's me escaping for a little while. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe, you know, I guess we didn't even really get around to this before we turned the mics on, you know, but I think being in this season of busyness, especially as like things start picking up for everybody, but just as a good, you know, thing to think about just for life is just building in rest. And realizing that just like you wouldn't take that nap away from that toddler, or you wouldn't whatever. Like, we need to build these moments of rest into our everyday, because then it does help us to be better for all the things that we are responsible for and needed for. It kind of goes back to that. You can't really give out of an empty cup. You can for a little while, but
I don't know. I don't think it's very effective.
It's not. So get some rest, friends.
Yes. And maybe listen to a podcast while you rest.
Yeah.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Email us a voice message to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story or the story of an incredible woman you know. Become part of the conversation on social media. Facebook.com/celebratingwomenpodcast. On Instagram, search Celebrating Women Podcast. The Celebrating Women podcast has been presented by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in Cumberland Shopping Center or online at handandstonetyler.com. The Celebrating Women podcast is created and hosted by Mandee Montana and Ashley Fisher. Support the show for as little as $3 per month at celebratingwomenpodcast.buzzsprout.com or visit our show notes. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.